For 50 years, the Fund for Assistance to Private Education and the Private Education Assistance Committee have had a significant impact on Philippine education. The Fund for Assistance to Private Education was a part of the Special Fund for Education set aside by the American government in 1963 from the surplus funds authorized by the War Damage Act of 1962. Realizing the potential uses of the Special Fund for urgent educational requirements, President Ferdinand E. Marcos pursued negotiations with the American government with more vigor and determination than his predecessor. He next created the Education Assistance Committee to establish guidelines and to review project proposals and to consult with representatives of the United States government on the projects to be financed under the fund. From the beginning, the Coordinating Council of Private Educational Association, or COCOPEA, submitted project proposals on the use of the special fund. A revised proposal entitled A National Program for Upgrading Private Education in the Philippines, submitted in 1966, was finally endorsed and recommended for approval by the Secretariat of the Education Assistance Committee. In 1967, the Department of Education project proposal entitled Government Assistance to Private Education was submitted to the U.S. panel. The Department of Education proposed to utilize 24 million pesos as a revolving trust fund for the private schools. After negotiations and consultations between the Philippine government, American government, and the private schools, the Fund for Assistance to Private Education, or FAPE Project Agreement, was signed on June 11, 1968. The project agreement required of the Philippine government the simultaneous creation of the Private Education Assistance Committee, or PEAC, and constitution of the fund as a permanent trust. Commenting on the draft of the executive order, COCOPEA leaders took strong exception to limiting the choice of an investment and financial management consultant to government institutions, preferring that this be left instead to PEAC's discretion. This would be more in harmony with the flexible intent of the project agreement. They also insisted that PEAC be the trustee and not just the administrator of the fund. The executive order would be refined to incorporate most of COCOPEA's comments and suggestions, as had been done in the case of the project agreement, and issued by President Marcos as Executive Order No. 156 on November 5, 1968. PEAC was then formally constituted when it had its first meeting on November 20, 1968. The original members of PEAC were Dr. Onofre D. Corpus, who was Secretary of Education, was the chairman, Attorney Nicanor Y. Fuentes of NEC, now NEDA, Dr. Arturo M. Guerrero of ACSC, now AXCU, Dr. Waldo S. Perfecto of CEAP, and Dr. Armand V. Fabella of PACU. In 1994, President Fidel V. Ramos signed Executive Order No. 150 that amended EO 156. Through Executive Order No. 150, PEAC was granted the express authority to accept, manage, and administer contributions, donations, grants, bequests, gifts, and/or loans from the Philippine government for programs of assistance to private education.
Philippine education is distinctive in the world because of a wonderful public-private partnership in the so-called GASTPE, the operationalization of public-private partnership has been seen through the educational service contracting and allowing government to provide for the education of students in private schools. So there was a need, and the need was solved by the private sector, but paid for by the public sector.
The Philippines is very lucky in that we have two very good models, and they all stem from the same model, which is really the GASPE system that is overseen by PEAC. That model has been highlighted a lot in the World Bank and in development journals about being a way for public-private partnerships. And that's really, I think, the model that economists and public policy makers like the most. I'd say the state right now is evolving, emerging. We have laws in place which encourage complementarity. It's really how the private sector and the public sector can coexist to deliver the education needed by the government.
From 1981 to 1983, PEAC undertook a feasibility study and pilot of the Education Service Contracting, or ESC, with the help of the Eastern Visayas Association of Private Schools, or EVAPS, in Region 8, and the Notre Dame Educational Association, NDEA, in Region 12. In 1986, the Philippine government recognized the ESC as a cost-effective way of delivering education and at the same time, a mechanism to support private education. The program was cited in the 1987 to 1992 Philippine Development Plan as one of the strategies to pursue the state policy of providing Filipinos access to education. PEAC has consistently voiced the need for government support of the private schools for fulfilling a public function. Its work in this area led to the enactment of Republic Act No. 6728, or the Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education. GAS-TPE Act in 1989, which provided for the expansion of the ESC as one form of government assistance to private education.
Private Education Assistance Committee has been of big help to private schools in Mindanao, especially those small ones, to sustain the delivery of quality education. Private schools operating in the remote places face the challenge of survival and sustainability with the assistance of PEAC. Facilitating the subsidy, many small schools were able to survive and continue operating.
The implementation of the senior high school starting in school year 2016 to 2017 also expanded the coverage of the GASPE law to qualified senior high school students through the Senior High School Voucher Program. With its experience in implementing a national education subsidy program, PEAC has been engaged by the Department of Education to implement the Senior High School Voucher Program.
Let me just say that, especially on this occasion of the 50th anniversary of PEAC, it is a wonderful service that they are doing in the country, helping to mediate in a real way the complementarity between public and private schools. That was fully supported by the PEAC, is what is now referred to as the partnership between COCOPEA and the PASUC. We have discovered that this is a viable partnership, and we are grateful to PEAC for having supported it.
Well, I think the big challenge right now is to find a framework that really makes complementarity implementable. Education prospers when its creativity, diversity, academic freedom are unimpaired, right? So the PPP model for education needs to grow, develop, and nurture these items. It shouldn't stifle them. So we're still searching for a new model. PEAC's great in that it is pushing the research for this new model. We have seen the initial results of the new model, which really talk about using price as a way for schools and parents to decide where to go, public, private.
When the government initiated the biggest and boldest reform in the history of Philippine education with the implementation of the K-12 program, PEAC has aligned its efforts with the goals of K-12.
A big bureaucracy like DepEd, it's impossible to come up with creative programs. Private education provides the avenue where real good, creative, innovative programs can actually be piloted and actually be implemented. I think essentially that's where private education comes in this interplay of complementarity between public and private education. Well, during my time when we were struggling with how exactly do we push for this major reform, the private educational institutions became a real partner through PEAC. Secondly, in the middle of the reform, we had to craft a viable government program that will support the K-12, specifically the senior high school program, via the voucher system. PEAC just proved itself to be a partner in implementing the first ever almost universal voucher system for all senior high schools in the private educational system. And then, beyond that, PEAC was an actual implementer of the training of teachers as we were rolling out the new curriculum from kinder all the way to grade 12. DepEd would not have had the personnel as well as the logistics to retrain 700,000 teachers in the public schools, plus all the other teachers that were teaching in private schools. And PEAC also was a very, very important conduit for us to move the reform.
PEAC implements the In-Service Training INSET program for private school administrators and teachers, another form of government assistance identified by the GASPE law. Accredited by the Professional Regulation Commission as a continuing professional development CPD provider, PEAC has assured private school teachers of access to trainings that will enable them to earn the required credit units for the renewal of their professional licenses. PEAC also institutionalized a certification program, a quality assurance mechanism for ESC participating schools, to ensure school compliance with the minimum standards and policies of DepEd and the requirements of K-12. PEAC also conceptualizes and manages its own programs of assistance to private education to support the sector's own efforts that contribute to every learner's access to quality education.
past 12 years as a pupil and student of St. Julian Academy, it is my sincere and heartfelt gratitude to have received the subsidy coming from ESC. Without you, our dreams couldn't be more brighter here. I thank you with all my heart and soul for being one of those students who received the subsidy coming from me.
Thank you very much po pala, GASP at EAS, for giving us opportunity to give these wonderful benefits. I hope that you continue that to help the teachers, especially in the private schools.
In my perspective as a student who receives ESC grant from the government, I can say that it's helping me and my family in various aspects, mainly financial aspect.
Malaki po ang naitutulong ng TSS na natatanggap ko po sa mga trainings, sa pag-attend ng mga seminars, sa mga paglabas na makakatulong sa aming pagtuturo.
Salamat po sa ESC. Dahil po sa ESC, naging tuloy-tuloy ang pag-aaral ko. Pati na rin ang kapwa kong mga estudyante, naging tuloy-tuloy na rin po ang pag-aaral nila. Salamat po sa ESC. Nang dahil po sa ESC, nagkaroon po ako ng pangarap sa buhay. Pangarap ko po sana na makapagtapos ako sa aking pag-aaral at magkaroon ng magandang trabaho.
Magsukol makaam kamemon, bang umbal pasalandi, umbal kami maka-school may tuma private high school ito.
Sa TSS, isang taus-pusong pagpapasalamat po sa inyo sa ibinigay niyong subsidy sa amin na mga gurong nasa private schools. Yung ibinibigay po ninyo sa amin na subsidiya ay talagang isang malaking bagay na hindi namin inaasahan na darating ang araw na kami ay magkakaroon nito. Muli maraming salamat po at sana patuloy niyo kaming suportahan, kami ng mga guro na taus-puso ding nagtuturo sa private school. Maraming salamat po.
Through PEAC, government is able to expand its options in harnessing the expertise, innovativeness, and resources of private education to provide quality and relevant education. Through PEAC, Philippine education can become a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education. Through PEAC, government and private education are able to share, in genuine complementarity, the responsibility of transforming lives through education.